Isn't it lovely? Thank you. It's a trip, when I find things like that, it's just so lucky. Like, who didn't like this?
Because I surely do.
It was meant to be. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It doesn't lay quite right, which is why someone probably got rid of it. The buttons in the center feels like it should be way over here that they lay differently, but I'm over. It was, $10. Thank you.
That was absurd. I think if the weather's nicer, a lot.
Maybe. I know it's a good point. It's been a week though of so much that it might be just some level. I'd maybe use it.
I would pray and I think I'm going to bury in today. And
We might actually see people show up at
oh, that's
who
true.
haven't
True too. I do not. Yeah,
Okay. Sure. Still 30 seconds. Mike? All right. Good morning. Good morning. We'll begin today with a song filled with loving kindness, which is in your order of service right at the top. We invite you to rise in body or spirit, and you're welcome to move along with me if the Spirit moves you.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Watkins. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a worship associate of this congregation, the Universalist Unitarian Congregation of Cleveland. We acknowledge that we are gathering on the original lands of the Erie, the Haudenosaunee, and Nishnabek peoples, also known as the Three Fires Council. We recognize the need to learn more about these complex and sometimes painful histories, to care for the land we inhabit, and to show respect to the diverse peoples and cultures who preceded us, as well as those who gather here now. Our congregation is working to build relationships with the Lake Erie Native American Council as a way of living into these worlds. It's good to be with you this morning. Welcome. We come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, different ages, and different backgrounds. Welcome. We come here for different reasons: to find community, to seek spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find the answers to some of our bigger questions. We hope that you will find comfort, connection, challenge, and love here, whatever your age, young or old or somewhere between, whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, know that you are welcome here. We especially welcome any guests who are worshiping with us for the first time, either with us here physically or in the cyber world. If you're interested in learning more information on who we are, we invite you to fill out one of the guest cards, these gray guest cards, and put it in it's in the pew rack in front of you, and you can put that in the offering plate when it comes around later in the service, and we'll be able to reach out to you with more information. If you're watching from an internet platform, you can go to our website, uucleveland.org, or send us an email. So we're about to enter into sacred space. Please take a moment to silence your phones or any other electronics that might beep. So our chalice lighter today, Leilani, you want to come up here? So Leilani will be our chalice lighter today. I ask that you join me in the words of our chalice lighting found on the yellow sheet in your pew rack. It's our words of our covenant. We cultivate trust with one another by celebrating differences, honoring boundaries, and offering compassion and care. We listen to each other deeply with curiosity and wonder. We speak for ourselves without need to defend ourselves or persuade each other. We create safe and brave space for healthy conflict, creativity, and fun. We reconcile through forgiving and making amends when we hurt one another.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Randy Partain. My pronouns are they, them, and I am honored to be with you today in worship, whether you're here in person or joining us online. I have gotten the impression this week that a lot of people have been experiencing some overwhelm. And so I invite you to begin our time today with a micro practice that comes from Peter Levine. It's a self-embrace. If you're willing to do this, you can do this at home, you can do this here in the sanctuary. You just take your right hand and put it under your left arm on the side of your heart, and then take your right hand and put it on your shoulder. Just as to remind us of the container of our bodies. Our bodies are the container for all of our sensations, all of our emotions. And when we are getting a sense of overwhelm, sometimes just this simple action can remind us of our container and help those feelings and those emotions, those sensations from having a place and not being overwhelming to us. This is something you can do anytime. So we begin worship reminding ourselves of the container of our bodies and also the container of this community that can hold all of the emotions that we bring into it with love and care. So we're going to take a moment to greet one another, and I just want to remind you that this is not time for church business. I know it's very tempting to multitask. You want to get a lot of things done. But this is just a time to let another person know that they are seen and safe and sacred. And so I invite you to just take a moment to greet one another, let one another know that you're welcome and cared for, and then we're going to sing hymn number 219, Hear, O My People, that's going to be in the gray hymnal. We do bring into this container a lot. And so we take time each week to acknowledge all that we bring into this community, whether they be joys or concerns. And if you're joining us online, you can share any joys or concerns you want the congregation to know about in the comments. If you're here in person, there is a book next to our Joys and Concerns bowl that people often write in, and people have left it a blank slate today. Maybe there would just be too much to write, or maybe there are other reasons that we have just left the page open. We do place a stone of gratitude for everyone who brought some food today, whether it was the kitchen crew preparing our main dish, or if you have brought something to share. I'm looking forward to our meal after the service, so gratitude for all of that. And a stone, again, for all of those who participated in preparing for the election. There are so many people here who did so much work in the last couple of months, and it is appreciated and it is meaningful and valued. And so, gratitude for all that you have done. What else do you want to acknowledge this morning? I invite you to come forward and place a stone in the water for any joys or concerns you'd like to name this morning. We place a stone for all of those joys and concerns shared online today. And a stone for all of those things that we continue to hold in the vaults of our hearts.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jenny Papp. I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Development. My pronouns are she and they. We're going to share a little story right now at this time. Our service today is centered around Tikkun Olam. In Hebrew, literally, I think, repairing the world. The story we have is related to us from a Jewish folklorist, mythologist, author, Howard Schwartz. And he gives us this telling of the myth. To prepare for our story, the story is about a trusted adult and a young person. I expect you may have been one of those at some time. Perhaps a trusted adult as an aunt or an uncle, a parent, a grandparent. Put yourself in that place of trust with that young person. You may have been a young person or are a young person where you've looked to a trusted adult to share with you. In our story, Anna's grandfather has come to visit her. It's the summertime. It's a very beautiful summer evening, a moonlit night, full sky, clear sky. So they go outside to take it all in. They lay down on the grass, and there are fireflies or lightning bugs, what you may call them, crickets, the grass, still a little warm. After a little while, she says, "Grandfather, where did all those stars come from?" And Grandfather says, "Well, at the beginning of time, everything was God. But God wanted to bring the world into existence. And so God drew in a deep breath and then blew out and said, 'Let there be light.' And that there were 10 vessels. Imagine, Anna, maybe those vessels, 10 ships. And those vessels were filled with light. And they were sent out. Well, these vessels were ultimately too fragile to contain all that light, that divine light. And they broke. And the light scattered, and there were sparks. And they went into the heavens. And that is where these stars came from. And Anna laid in the grass and thought about that for a little while and said, was amazed by that story from her grandfather. Grandfather said, that's not all. Some of the sparks fell down. And these sparks everywhere needed to be collected. And that is why God had created us, people, to collect these sparks, to help find them. How, Grandfather? How were people to collect these sparks of divine light that are hidden amongst the world? And Grandfather said, well, when we do a good deed, a spark rises up. Like when you care for your baby sister, or you find an injured animal, and you try to help care for that, a spark rises up. When we move out of our comfort zone to help people that are more vulnerable than us, maybe we speak up when someone is mean. Or we can share what we've learned about how to care for the earth with others. And the sparks rise up. And when those sparks are collected and they rise up, they will restore the broken vessels. And there will be peace. They lay there and wondered and thought together. And imagine you might have done that. She fell asleep, and Grandfather scooped her up and carried her back in. And Grandfather said as he carried her in, most of all, when we speak and we act from our core, from our root of love, that's when the sparks are gathered. Thank you. May it be so.
Our offering partner today is Planned Parenthood. Many of us are familiar with the vital work that Planned Parenthood provides to our communities for supporting access to reproductive health care and education. The unflinching work of repair that they do in removing the stigma and shame about these vital health care issues. Today, I want to lift up one of their efforts to repair our healthcare system that is perhaps less well known. In October, Planned Parenthood opened their first community-based pharmacy in Akron. As Erica Wilson Donner, President and CEO of Planned Parenthood of Greater Ohio, explains, we had a lot of patients, particularly in the gender-affirming care community, who were struggling to get the medications that they needed and who were very uncomfortable asking questions of the pharmacist in, we'll call it a big box pharmacy store. So we wanted to provide them with low-cost medications that were readily accessible with a pharmacist who was going to take the time to really answer their questions, provide culturally sensitive care. Planned Parenthood Pharmacy provides gender-affirming care for transgender and non-binary adults in the form of hormone therapy, such as testosterone and estrogen, and additional supplies such as needles for injecting the prescriptions. To support the important repair work of Planned Parenthood, I encourage you to give generously and within your means as the offering plate that's passed around, or through Cash App with a cash tag of $UUCC 44122. And be sure to put today's date and Planned Parenthood in the foreline of the app. Practice Repair by the Reverend Dave McFarland. Bless generously, curse rarely. Practice repair. Read a book or a blog or watch a movie about something or some situation or someone beyond the ability to relate. Practice repair. Lean into comfort zones, strengths, and inklings of bliss. Practice repair. Pause to ask whether their words are both skillful and absolutely necessary. Practice repair. Sing full-throated songs that create and recreate beloved community. Practice repair. Let go of stubborn self-righteousness and have mercy. Practice repair. Honor the ancestors who could not have imagined our lives or even our very being. Practice repair. Smile. Practice repair. Multiply joy, divide sorrow. Practice repair. With the tools at hand, practice repair. Perhaps I have tools you could borrow. Perhaps you could lend me yours. And together, we can practice repair.
I appreciate this month that we are talking about the practice of repair and not the perfection of repair. That's helpful. And it's very appropriate for us to think about Tikkun Olam in the midst of this series and in the midst of this week where the world seems to need so much repair. Last year, we had a special service that was focused on Yom Kippur, but we did not do that this year because we knew we were going to be spending a month on this topic of repair. But Yom Kippur, this Day of Atonement that our Jewish siblings observe, where they atone for anything that might have injured other people over the past year, that's a way of practicing repair. It doesn't mean we're not going to do something over the year ahead that causes harm. It means that we're going to be good about repairing things when it happens. But right now, repairing a world might seem a bit exhausting or overwhelming. And so it's understandable if we want to just distract ourselves with something more manageable. Sometimes we stay so energetically urgent about what we do that we stay too exhausted to think about repairing. I was in a conversation the week before the election. It was the Thursday before the election, and someone was saying, if the election goes one way, people are going to be really motivated, and they're going to keep being politically active. And if it goes this other way, people might be apathetic. They'll feel like we've accomplished something, and now we can just lie back and relax, and we're going to just be apathetic. And I thought, maybe what you're seeing as apathy is exhaustion. Because people have been working so hard, we need to take time to rest. And that is still true. We need space to rest. We need space to grieve. It's not reasonable to expect ourselves to operate at full tilt 24/7 on into infinity. And I wonder if it feels any different to breathe for a minute and think about all of the things that we already do in our day-to-day life as repair, or at least the potential for it. Not the big grandiose things and the numbers of letters or postcards that we've sent that have lots of zeros after them, which is impressive, but unsustainable. But what if all of the things that we do every day have that seed of Tikkun Olam in them? What if all the things that stress us out and keep us up at night could be done in a spirit of repairing the world? What if we were not busy worker bees constantly looking toward the next task we need to do, whether it's for justice or just to keep ourselves distracted from all of the brokenness? What if we saw ourselves as day-to-day healers, moving through the world, repairing what we can with intentional, sustainable, grounded purpose? You know, the story that Jenny shared about the sparks of light and the vessels that were broken, all of that is a very familiar story to some people in this room. Rachel Naomi Remen writes that according to her grandfather, the whole human race is responsible to this accident. It's a response from the divine to the brokenness. We are here because we are born with the capacity to find the hidden light in all events and all people, lift it up, and make it visible once again, and thereby restore the innate wholeness of the world. It's a very important story for our times, Rachel Remen says. And this task is called Tikkun Olam in Hebrew. It's the restoration of the world. And this is, of course, a collective task. It involves all people who have ever been born, all people presently alive, and all people who will be born. We are all healers of the world. And that story opens a sense of possibility. It's not about healing the world by making a huge difference. It's about healing the world that touches you, that's right around you. My alternative and slightly belligerent title for this sermon was going to be, "This Changes Nothing," which maybe seems a little bit defiant. But an election does not change who we claim to be as a people. An election does not change what we are called to do and be in the world. Who we claim to be as Unitarian Universalists is healers in the world, practitioners of Tikkun Olam. We talk about interdependence and pluralism. We talk about justice and equity. We talk about generosity and transformation as the values that embody liberating love in the world. We are a people who honor the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. And in response to that, we make a promise to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation and to create and nurture sustainable relationships of repair, mutuality, and justice. That is the work of repairing the world. We say that we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in our culture and our experience and our theology, and we covenant to be open and curious enough to learn from one another in our free and responsible searches for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and our commonalities with love and curiosity and respect. That is the work of restoring the world, Tikkun Olam. We make a promise to dismantle oppression, racism, and all forms of systemic oppression, and to support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions in our congregations and society at large. Democratic processes may not feel very sacred right now to some of us. They may not always lead where we hope to go. But it is a sacred thing to include all voices in the conversation in a way that is meaningful and that invites wholeness and connection. That is the work of repairing the world. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope, and we covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith and our presence and our resources. because that generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. That is the work of repairing the world. We affirm the inherent worthiness of every person, every person, every person. And we covenant to use our time and our wisdom and our attention and our money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. If that's not Tikkun Olam, I don't know what is. We are already claiming to be the people who repair the world, or a people who repair the world. And we've created a very clear recipe for Tikkun Olam. Sustainable, interdependent relationships of repair and mutuality and justice with other diverse, sacred beings, dismantling harmful practices and systems collectively, and growing together so that we use our resources to ensure that everyone thrives. That is the vision of Unitarian Universalism that we have cast. It's not an easy vision, but as the song that we heard earlier suggests, we weave our dreams together. And that is a dream of repair that is worthy of our effort. We are by definition healers, menders, repairers of the world. It's not actions that we do. It's not a thing that we can check off of a list and say, did I do this thing today? Okay, did I do that thing today? It's a way of being. It's a way of moving through the world so that when we drive down the street or do our grocery shopping or order something in a restaurant or sit down to coffee with a friend or show up for worship, that we show up as the embodiment of Tikkun Olam, that it's who we are. It's not just a set of things that we do. And nothing about our politics changes that identity. Nothing about other people's responses and reactions to politics changes our identity or our calling and commitment to nurture the world toward wholeness. And we begin with the world right around us. We begin with what touches us, using our capacity to find the hidden divine in all events and all people, and lift that up and make it visible and repair what is ours to repair. I also like what David Levithan puts in Nick Nora's Infinite Playlist, a different scripture than what is being read in some other communities around us today that are talking about the same thing. But Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, Nick says, then it hits me. Maybe we're the pieces. Maybe that's it. With what you're talking about before, Tikkun Olam, the world being broken, maybe it isn't that we're supposed to go out and find the pieces and put them back together. Maybe we're the pieces. Maybe what we're supposed to do is connect with one another. That's how we stop the breaking. So maybe it isn't this idea that we're supposed to keep ourselves busy finding the pieces and looking for things in our lives that are going to allow us to put the pieces back together. Maybe we are the pieces. And maybe what we're supposed to do is connect with one another so purposefully, so lovingly, so fearlessly that we stop the world from continuing to be broken. That is ambitious enough. Is it possible that we could gently and purposefully create connection in the world around us, the parts of the world that touch us, and fully inhabit this identity of healers? Of course, we need to take practical action toward justice. I'm not saying that we don't need to do that. And of course, we need to be intentional with our connection so that we don't just draw a safe line of protection around our little patch of existence and wall everybody else out. But we are today who we were last week, and our vision for the world is still wholeness. And the way we choose to nurture is still liberating love. And our connection with one another is a place to start, but not where we end. So I invite you to consider this week, in the midst of your rest, in the midst of your grieving, however long that takes, because it's going to take a different amount of time for each of us, But in the midst of that, consider what parts of the world you touch. What is the world right around you? And how can you meaningfully act on a sustainable commitment to embody this sense of Tikkun Olam? Liberating love as a way of being in all of the small moments of life. You're going to have an opportunity to talk a little more about that in our conversations at lunch today, and I'm going to invite you to think about our congregation if you're ready to. I'll tell you more about that before we leave. But for the moment, I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing together, Spirit of Life. It is number 1, 2, 3. I thought it was so easy that I'd remember it, but I didn't. It is number 123 in the gray hymnal, and we're going to sing it through twice, and Laura will invite some somatic engagement, some movement along with the words as we sing. Thank you, Laura. That was only once through. You're not crazy. I heard a little of your thoughts. That happens sometimes. With this microphone, I pick up your thoughts sometimes. Don't be scared. We do have a potluck today with the main dish provided by the kitchen crew and all the side dishes and desserts provided by you. Thank you very much. At your tables, there are going to be some table cards with some questions. You don't have to answer them, but they're there to guide your conversation around this theme today. And the first question there is, how do I nurture the world toward wholeness? How do I repair the world? How do I practice Tikkun Olam? Just one small thing that you do in your life that you might share with the table. It might be so simple, but it might be so inspiring to somebody else there. And then the second question is, what could I be doing that I'm not doing yet? What's a simple thing that I could be doing to embody Tikkun Olam that I'm not doing yet? Maybe all that you need is for somebody else at that table or somebody else in the room to say, that's an amazing idea, I will do that thing with you. Or maybe not, but just to think, to dream, to imagine a little bit. And then if you are ready, the third question is coming from the Waging Nonviolence site that I saw earlier this week. And it said, one of the things that is going to be important over the next 4 years is for us to choose a path. We cannot take all of the paths. And so the paths that they talk about are the path of protecting people who are vulnerable, the path of defending civic institutions, the path of disruption and disobedience, and the path of building alternatives. Those are the 4 paths that they named on Waging Nonviolence. Maybe there's a completely different path that you've got in your head. But the question is, collectively, as a community, which of those paths do you think is suited to our congregation? You can have a different path for yourself personally, too. It doesn't have to match. But which of those 4 paths, and they're written on the table cards. And then we'll have a time to share out a little bit to see what the tables each learned from each other. But really, it's just a time for you to connect about this idea of Tikkun Olam, what our role is it as individuals, and what is our role in it as a community. The 7th through 12th graders are going to grab some food to go and meet in the youth room, so you'll have a time to check in together. 7th through 12th graders, just do grab food first at the potluck and then bring it up to room 201 to meet together. And then this conversation can spill over into next week's forums. Next week, the forums is an interactive discussion about post-election reality. John Bacon, who is here today, thank you, John, and Lori Albright, who I don't think is with us today because she's still at home recovering from something that might be COVID, I don't know. But they're going to facilitate. She's going to be so perfectly well next week, it's going to be ridiculous. This forums is not going to be recorded, so it's a good opportunity to be in person together and a safe space to speak freely about how things are looking to you. That's 9 o'clock next Sunday. Our auction is Saturday, November 16th. Today, November 10th, is the last date to submit any items for that, so I wanted to make sure you know about that. And then next Sunday, November 17th, after the service, there's going to be a legacy creation workshop, planning for your future and ours, and that's going to be in the fellowship hall after the service. Oh, and I wanted to let you know 2 weeks from today is bread ceremony. We've got a lot happening this month. On the 24th of November, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we are going to share bread with one another, so I invite you to bring your favorite bread to share in a very special ceremony ending our month of repair, the practice of repair. So as we go forth from this place, may we accept whatever is happening within the container of our bodies and within the container of our lives. Accept that we need time to rest, accept that we need space to grieve, and accept that when we are done with those things, there is work to do, and it is manageable and sustainable work that we can do in the lives right around us to repair the world. May we be so bold. Amen, and blessed be.
Please join me in the words of our chalice extinguishing, found on the yellow pew card in front of you. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And speaking of the fire of commitment, that is our postlude. If the Spirit moves you, please sing along. It's number 1028, Field Book.